this connection is bad. It's play this back. It's February 15th, 2001. I'm talking Vancouver. Let me just put. Okay, so
Okay.
we're on. All right. As I said to you in the lobby, the tenor of where I want to go with you is this idea of 5 or 6 so people can earn a living through old-time music, depending upon that. That's kind of how I want to look at your career in that way. How you've been able to the music you play, maybe over time. I think you indicated without a whole lot of specifics.
Right.
And if you feel comfortable.
Only I didn't know this was the topic. I thought it was more on what record companies are doing in publicity and promotion.
Well, I want to talk about that. I do want to talk about that.
No, it's okay. Let's see. I put my mind on this other thing.
Because I do want to talk about that. An interest of mine is how record companies are able to sell this stuff and be better than others, and
Okay, well,
what they need
we
to do.
can start there.
Uh-huh.
My is that you can't sell secret records.
I'm having trouble with this. Go ahead.
Are you going to hold it on? You put it on its side.
You know what I should do is. Let's go from there and see.
I was saying you can't sell secret records. The situation we've got is that media, particularly radio, is owned by a very, very few. People in general will buy records and go, will buy what they're familiar with.
Right.
And if they have the chance to be exposed to something, okay, I'll give you an example. I was annoyed at them for other reasons, but the people who put on this recent San Francisco Bluegrass Festival, it happened a week ago in San Francisco, they did a very smart thing. They put on they advertised in such a way that the general public knew about it, and they put a low ticket price. And the average audience there was in their 20s, and they were not bluegrass or old-time music lovers. They were just neither were they were the general public were interested. Oh, what is this?
What do you think brought them there? What was in the ads that transcended?
The fact that it was so many bands and it was an event.
Uh-huh.
And it was advertised in such places that they felt cool to go there. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
To appeal not to the, to the
Keep talking.
people who already know they like these kinds of music,
Right.
but to the general public, there's always going to be some who don't like it, and some who do, but they have to know about it.
Right.
I think that if there's been a concentrated, deliberate effort with a plan to educate people about, hey, you're going to like this music. And this is from a commercial point of view, from the record companies.
Right.
Then I don't think there has been one. Perhaps there has been, but it's been badly done then. The fact that it has appeal, just take a look at Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? 70,000 copies in France?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's only in France, and it's doing very well. There was a lot of good music in that movie. A couple of duds, but mostly really good. So it's to me it feels like it's been random.
Let's concretize this a little bit. Talk about your Rounder experience. You did a lot of albums with them, and so you had some time to see how it worked through 5 albums, I think, 5 or 6.
Right.
There was Kate and Katie's album.
Right. There were
you're aware of.
five Jody and Kates and a Kate and Katie.
Right.
at the time, for right now, we're making some records with Appleseed.
Right.
Perhaps we'll record for Rounder again. It was,
Right.
the relationships remain congenial.
Mhm.
They.
Now, you signed with Rounder. You knew Ken just from years back.
No, I didn't know him.
How did that come about? Why don't we just get a little history in there, and
Okay.
I think it helps sometimes to just start with the story and.
Okay, well, I'll start way back
Okay.
in the beginning then, about how do you, making a living at this.
Right.
To begin with, most of my life, my needs have been very, very modest, and so I didn't need a lot of money. I was at least through the mid-'80s able to live on less than $200 a month. I was very fortunate that my rent was so low. And so I didn't really need a whole lot. I also grew up in such a way and had schooling in such a way that I had absolutely no idea how one got a job. I didn't know how do people do that. What? I delivered clothes from a laundry when I was a kid. I got that job from a friend Jay when he had a cold. He said, "Hey, you want to take over my delivery route?" That's how I got that one. Working in another friend's grandfather's candy store a little bit, but I knew him.
Did you grow up with a mom and dad in a conventional setting?
Yes.
What did your dad do for a living?
Physics professor.
Oh, okay. So he got a job, but
Yeah.
that's actually kind of an offbeat situation, in a sense.
Right. My mother was a she worked with she worked with young children and teachers of young children, nursery school teachers, working with sound and rhythm as opposed to music and dance. Just
Well, that's interesting. Well, because academia is not, in its own way, it's not really the world.
Yeah.
It's its own world. Yeah.
But it also had to do with how they taught you in school in
Yeah.
Brooklyn. There was no. If you were on an academic track, which I was, then either you were learning knowledge for knowledge's sake, or else you were one of the high schools in Brooklyn was called manual training.
Right.
Then
You
you're
were there.
prepared for the
Yeah.
work. There was this class thing. I mean, but in fact, there were no young gentlemen of independent means in Brooklyn. It's absurd. We weren't taught anything about the
Mhm.
or exposed to the world. So, being a musician, I began playing music at 11. I was earning money playing music at 12, 14. That's all I ever did, was playing music in bluegrass bands first, and then a little bit later as solo or smaller. I got interested in the older music as in my late teens, in blues and old-time music and such. And teaching, I've always loved teaching. I think I probably got that from my father,
Mhm.
who was really a superb educator. And he started out being interested in science, and he ended up being interested in the process of teaching. And he'd come home from work and he'd say, words to the effect of, like, "I know I'm really an idiot. How is it that I'm so unbelievably wise when I'm teaching? I know exactly what to say. My students believe me. They respect me. And I get out of the classroom, I'm just an ordinary person. This is fascinating. What is it about the role of teacher that enables me to have access to saying the right thing at the right time?" He's really interested in that. And of course, as I was interested in his ruminations about this, and that he would share it with me. I enjoyed that very much. So, from the time I was in high school, I was teaching, and a lot of my livelihood comes from lessons, private lessons, and banjo, guitar, mandolin, fiddle. Sometimes I have Indian classical music students, only I don't make any money from those. Most people never have any money. The lessons always go for 4 hours, and it's more for the love of the music, One way that I've managed to make a living such as it is from music is number one, by not playing in a band. By playing with Kate as a duet, we're able to bring the fee lower than you'd pay a five-piece band. We've worked a lot in bluegrass circles because of the kind of music that we do, because of how we sing and what our timing is. We've got one foot in the bluegrass world, one when the self-designated, what people who, they call it old-time music. We've got, well, that's our feet. Maybe we've got our elbows and arms in what people think is folk music. We've also been able to play, we haven't done it lately, but we did a lot in the 80s, play a lot of casuals in the Bay Area. We played, weddings and 50th anniversaries and, and things like that, playing Cajun music, playing Irish music, playing bluegrass, playing old-time string band music. Our interests are very, very wide, and we played all these different things. By having such a variety, we could give the people who are hiring us when put together with the pool of musicians who are in the Bay Area, whatever they wanted. We discovered that on stage, that didn't work at all. The first Jody and Kate shows we did, they always had 20% Cajun music in it, a couple of Scottish and Irish tunes in it, and we soon realized this was an unfocused show. And so we began to what is it that we do that nobody else does like this, and that's, so different? Well, it's our singing. It's how we sing together. And we began to focus on songs in the English language, and that were harmonizable. And that cut off a lot of our early musical interest, but that's okay. We have musical life off of stage. A couple of years ago, I made a solo album, an album of ballads. Kate helped out by playing banjo on one or two songs, but basically none of those songs were made better by adding harmony. So one way we've been able to make whatever living we've made doing that has been, people exactly what it is. We sing as ourselves. We immediately, when you hear it, this is Jody and Kate. You said your last interview was Bruce Molsky.
Well, not my last, but
Bruce is like that too. He has a very individualistic stamp on his music. You hear him for not even a minute, and you know that it's him. He's done a wonderful thing. I don't know if he realizes this yet, but he sings like himself. He sings, it's very unaffected. He sings like Bruce Molsky, and I love it. I love to hear that. When you hear Jody and Kate, it doesn't sound generic or imitative. It's just, we're taking the music in and digesting it and shit out the waste parts, and what's left is now nutrition.
Now, how long have you been playing together, whether married or not, as a duo, or even with others playing together? You and Kate?
We met in '74, and we've been singing since then. And we lived, in different states. I was living in Washington then. We met at Expo. Up in Spokane, Washington. Yeah. Well, her band was playing there, and a band I was in playing in there. And we discovered we liked to sing together. I asked her to let's be a duet. About early 80s. I don't remember the date. And she was very reluctant. She had quit Blue Flame and she doesn't really like the road all that much. Is more or less happier at home. More happier at home.
Yeah.
So, what's the question now?
How did the Rounder deal come about?
The Rounder deal, yeah. The Rounder deal. At the encouragement of friends and people in our audience, we were singing together as a duet, and I was really loving doing this. I said, you should really have a record.
Don't you, in a sense, need a product once you're out there? Seriously, don't you need something to?
We didn't think that way.
Okay. All right.
We were singing for the love of the music,
Okay.
and
People talk about calling cards a lot. I hear that a lot.
right. And in this case, it wasn't like that. And a lot of my music with Kate and other places too, whether it's a solo or there's a lot of spontaneity in it, and
Mhm.
I would prefer, when in the '60s and '70s, I never had a set list,
Right. Mhm.
and just what I'm in the mood for. Let's do this.
So people said you guys should have a record, and we'll go from there.
So we said, well, okay, that's a good idea. Well, where should we record? Well, let's record here. Let's record at Bay Records.
Right.
I knew Mike Cogan. He had recorded my first records and
Right.
approached me. But prices have gone up, hourly. What should we do? So we borrowed money. We borrowed $2,000 from someone, and that wasn't enough, but it was. And we made an album. And in the middle of the thing, Mike kind of lost interest because he was moving his studio from Alameda to Berkeley, and his mind wasn't on it. His mind was on the move and rebuilding the place, and frankly, it wasn't sounding very good. Kate wanted to quit music. She said, if I sound like that, I shouldn't make the record. And this was I had already been a producer of my second album, Going Up on the Mountain. I had produced the record with Krishna Bhatt. I had some idea about how to use microphones, how to use the studio as a tool, and I could hear through the equalization. I could hear the sound. I said, no, Kate, the music's here. It's music here. She said, yeah, this sounds ugly, but it's not you. We switched engineers to a new guy who was working here, Bob Shoemaker, and it just sounded so good. But what we did was we realized we may have to start over again in the middle of the record because it wasn't sounding so good. So we went to our LP collection. This would have been 1987, I guess. And we listened to different records and who has the best sounding vocals. Somebody whose music I don't like very much at all, won hands down, and that was Joni Mitchell. Her vocals were so well recorded. Well, that was Warner Brothers and whoever the producers were. They were in L.A. So got it. Well, number two was a number of records recorded by Bob Shoemaker. Or some Kate Wolf records or something. Again, it wasn't the music we were listening to. It was just how well was the vocals recorded. Okay. And a number of projects that Bob had worked on. And then we found that Bob was now working for Mike. So we start over again with Bob. He was able to rescue the other tracks. And so then we had a record, we had it sequenced, we had it mastered, ready to go, and we began to send it around to different record companies. We sent it to Rounder and 6 or 7 other places.
We're about 87, 88 still?
87, yeah.
Okay.
Nothing ever came back from Rounder. So I called him up. And
you know Ken?
No, I knew his name.
That's all you knew?
So
You hadn't
just
met
the
him?
name.
Okay.
I might have met him.
But you didn't have
no.
a friendship?
No, and I wasn't quite sure what he looked like.
Okay.
Don't know. And he said, well, to tell you the truth, I lost it. I lost the tape, a year ago. So I said, if I send you another one, will you listen to it?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I will listen to it, but I have to tell you that all our money and attention is going to transfer our LPs to CD, and it's taking a lot of money, and if we put out your record, it's going to be many, many months, maybe more than a year. Well, meanwhile, nobody was saying yes. So I said, well, I'll send it to you. Well, Hazel liked it. They listened to the record on a car trip. I mean, I sent them a cassette, a
Right.
two-sided cassette.
Mm-hmm.
I called up Ken a few months later. What do you think? He said, well, I really like it. Hazel really loves it. I think the order is wrong. It shouldn't be starting with this particular song. I said, Ken, that's side 2. That's not the order. Oh, okay, I'll listen again. Oh, yeah, the order's good, after all. He said, yeah, we want to put it out, but it's going to be a long time. I said, okay, we'll go with it. I didn't tell him, of course, that no one else had wanted to put it
Sure.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the Sugar Hill wouldn't put it out because Rounder didn't want it. That happened again with Going Up on the Mountain, which is old stuff from the
Yeah.
70s. Acoustic Disc finally put it out because they're brave.
Yeah.
Again, Sugar Hill, Barry Poss said that was one of his favorite records. It was a big fan of it. But if Rounder didn't want it, they must know something that he didn't know.
Or what does he
Nobody
use,
could-
Rounder as an A&R check or
I
something?
don't know. It's what it looked like, At a certain point, must have been around the Kate and Katie record,
Uh-huh.
I got my ears plugged up. It happened on a flight, and I couldn't hear.
Uh-huh.
I had a cold, and what was in the left sounded like it was in the front. What was in the front sounded like it was on the right. Everything was turned around. I was that way for like 3 or 4 months, and I was desperate. I was thinking, well, I may never ever be able to be a musician again. What can I do? Maybe I can run a record company.
Uh-huh.
I know something about that. So I did all the math
Uh-huh.
of what it takes to run a record company. And it made me much more sympathetic to the record company when I see what a risk they're taking.
Let's talk. So they put out the record. I like to hear the stories on these records and how it worked
Yeah.
for you, for them.
Well, so Rounder finally put the thing out.
Yeah.
As soon as Rounder put it out, we began to send the same recording. We've been sending around our record on high quality tape. I think we sent it on metal tape.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good tape as a demo to get gigs.
Right.
The very same recording, now it was mass produced at double speed or quadruple speed. The Rounder cassette product, which is the only thing we would send around. We wouldn't send CDs, they were too expensive.
Okay.
And we wouldn't send LPs, they were too big.
Right.
So we would send a cassette, it was convenient. Most of the people who run festivals and gigs listen in their car.
Right.
And there was no CD players in cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Back then, yeah.
That very same tape, same sequence, as soon as it said Rounder on it, it said Rounder, sounded a whole lot better to these people. Oh, you guys have improved a lot,
Tells you what people really know.
Well, as a matter of fact, those cassettes we were sending around sounded a lot better than the commercial product did because it was on higher quality tape.
I was going to ask. These were not what Rounder was producing as your disc. These were what you were copying, but it was a Rounder record. You put that on the information.
No.
Or
In
was,
1980s,
or was this the Rounder product?
in
Was this what's coming
1988,
out?
we would send out real-time copies of high-quality master
Right.
of our record. It just said TDK on it, or Sony, or
Right,
something like that.
yeah.
In '89, we would send the Rounder product,
You'd send the product, right?
the real product,
Yeah. Okay.
which didn't sound as good as what we've been
Right.
sending before. It sounded fine, but
Right.
um,
Okay.
mass-produced doesn't sound as good as
Yeah.
individually
I understand.
handcrafted cassettes. Yeah,
Right.
and to them, it just it's so having the Rounder name on it was an enormous help to us.
Okay.
It seemed to lend us some legitimacy in the eyes of people who had the gigs. Working with Rounder ended up, in the end, being kind of a perfect combination because they were very, very lackadaisical about tour support. Very, very, they let us down in a number of ways. Like our second album was aimed at a bluegrass audience. We had Pete Wernick and Laurie Lewis on it. We deliberately went that way, and they forgot to send it to the bluegrass list. They didn't do that. I eventually learned how to work Rounder, which is to find the right person for each job.
Mm-hmm.
Ken is like he's like the gatekeeper. You work with Ken to get in. He's he's producing records. He's overseeing the things for the everyday details. It was better to go with particular individuals who unfortunately changed their jobs every year. They would still be at Rounder, but they were doing something else. So you had to keep on top of it, constantly chase them. In the end, it turned out that anything we asked for, they gave us, but we had to ask. In the end, Kate became less and less interested in touring. Flying is very, very hard on her. Sometimes she was claustrophobic on the airplanes. Being away from home is hard on her. She's just not really cut out for being constantly on the road. And those first years, we felt we had to prove ourselves to Rounder too. We were doing 100 gigs a year, and trying to sell records, and that put pressure on us, put pressure on the relationship, and marriage with a music partner, and then having something to prove is a big pressure. But in the end, we decided on we'd only do gigs when people called us, and that has worked out great. It takes the pressure off. We have nothing to prove, and it's funny, like I'm in a bluegrass band now. There's no pressure. It's just really, really easy. But Kate just did any old time reunion in a band that's very, very easy. But being in a duet is harder even than a solo. It's a very, very delicate thing. Two people don't create as much energy as five. So what we do instead is try to cast a spell and draw the audience in, and that's our approach, and so it's worked. The gigs themselves are not where the pressure is. It's getting there, all the details, being a pack horse, being a mule, carrying all these instruments, and when LPs went to CDs, that was a big help.
Yeah.
Just a lot less weight. Kate's small. I had to do most of the lifting. It is. So I was saying it was a perfect thing. They were a little lackadaisical, but then look at us. We were, going from 100, 120 gigs a year, we were going to 20. At a certain point, I was saying I'd lost my hearing, but it did come back, and I did the math. Around that time, I called Ken. I said, "Look, I don't know. I'm not hearing very well. Kate is burned out on the road. We have one more record to make. We're about to renew the contract, and first we did a 4-record deal, and they wanted to give us another 4-record deal, where the budget would be the same for every recording, and I didn't want to sign that. I said, I don't know whether studio costs are going to go up, and I'd rather do it on a record by record basis. And they said, okay, we'll do that. So the last one we did for them was Heart Songs.
That was the Utah Phillips.
Utah Phillips one. And Ken's approach.
And that was outside the initial contract.
We finished. We done 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ken's response. I'm kind of rambling here.
That's all right.
Here.
This is fine.
Okay, you can edit it.
I'm not going to.
Yeah. What Ken said was, I said, look, I don't know, how much touring we're going to be doing. Are you sure, you want to keep working with us? I want to let you know. And he said, we'll find a way to sell the records if you don't tour. We'll find some other way. Which is very kind.
Yeah.
I think he liked our music very much. We were more like perennial sellers rather than big. We wouldn't, it would be a catalog sales, steady kind of thing rather than a big splash.
If you're willing, would you give me a sense of what these records sell to be
I have
considered
absolutely
good
no idea because
Mhm.
Rounder statements are inscrutable,
Okay.
and I don't believe them.
Mm-hmm.
To give you an idea of how completely useless their accounting has been, I believe it was our first royalty statement. They made $1,000 error in our favor. So I'm not saying they were cheating us. I'm saying,
They're lackadaisical, careless.
Yeah, and the first contract they sent us was absurd. The first contract it said that the artist would receive blank percentage of the record.
Oh, that's how it came to you?
Yeah, this is the way it was, this is what it was written. Artists will receive blank, plus a number would be, but they wanted to see, we should see a template
Right.
contract, a percentage of the record. So I said, what are you going to do, break off chips of,
Yeah.
or steam off the labels? What are you talking
What's it
about?
referring to? Yeah.
They didn't even say of sales.
Right. Yeah. And this is around 1990 or so when you actually entered into the deal with them.
89.
Okay.
No, 80, I guess it was 88 because it came out in 89.
Okay. All right.
Okay, how many records did it sell? Our first record has sold the most, our second record has sold the next most. I believe that our first record might be up to 9,000 now. I'm not sure, maybe not even that much.
Okay.
So they say.
Uh-huh.
What the last statement I saw about the Utah Phillips record indicated didn't even sell 4,000 records.
Okay.
But my acoustic disc record, the acoustic disc sends me statements very, very regularly and always on time. It's done that well in the first, immediately. So, I don't think Rounder's accounting is all that accurate. On the other hand, Harry Fox Agency has audited them, and more money did not come, because I've written some songs.
Right. Is that he's your publisher?
No, Harry Fox is a what do they call themselves? They collect mechanical royalties
Okay.
for songwriters.
Okay. All right.
And because I've written some songs on the records, on various ones.
Do you retain them? You have to go to them specifically and say, I want you to help
write,
me?
you ask them to be a representative. They take,
Okay.
I believe, 2%, and they
Okay.
collect it
And
through,
they'll look for
and they
some money.
regularly audit.
Right.
They're a muscle.
So they've done that specifically on your behalf at your request.
No, not at our request.
Oh.
Every now and then they just decide, they
I
collect, and then
I
they send
see.
us the money.
I see.
But every now and then, they decide, okay, this year we're gonna audit Warner Brothers and Rounder.
Okay,
And they
okay,
just
so-
go in there.
Right. Okay. So they did this, and your point was going to be they've.
My point is that maybe they were accurate after all, and we just didn't sell all that many.
Right. Okay.
They've never tried to sell our records, though.
Mhm.
I think we were included in an ad once or twice with, here's our latest 8 releases or
Right.
something like that. There's, like Any Old Time just did this reunion. There was an all-women string band that
Right.
they were pretty active in the 70s. They just did a reunion in San Francisco. They were never particularly well rehearsed. At least 3 of the members couldn't remember the arrangements. They were barely coherent musically a lot of the time. Yet you get the right combination, you put them on stage, it creates this thing, particularly when Valerie's in the band. I hear these 5 people, and the audience love it, and everybody's really, really happy, and there's this excitement that's generated. Similar with this bluegrass band I've got now, with Perfect Strangers. Something happens. You get these 5 guys together, and something happens. Jody and Kate are more of a low-key thing. There's something about our approach which never tells the audience, oh, if you like this, you'll be cool. We just appeal to people who like how we sound, and there's no peripheral benefits from listening to our music, or perceived benefits. So I don't know we'll ever have mass appeal. It seems to be more singer-songwriters or bands that appeal to larger groups. So all in all, I think Rounder understood that. They liked it for the music. And when we wanted to make a Carter Family album, the budget that they offered, based on previous sales, was too low. We couldn't make it for that money. And Appleseed was actively pursuing us, saying, we want you to do this album. And
not an album, but the Carter Family album.
The Carter
That's
Family.
what
Well,
Jim
actually,
wanted, yeah.
they wanted 2 albums from us.
Okay.
Our next one's going to be a live one.
Okay.
We've got tapes going back 25 years.
Uh-huh.
A lot of good stuff, songs we never recorded, and really different versions of ones we have. As it is, we made the album so easily that we could have done it on Rounder's budget. It just Kate put her foot down with the Utah Phillips album, saying we're going to rehearse a whole lot more before we go in the studio, and you are going to decide what your guitar breaks are going to be before we get. Don't improvise them. Decide, and she kind of, she's a bookkeeper. She just had to look, where are we spending the money? We're spending the money in editing when you have to redo a guitar break or something and overdub it, and then you do it 3 times, and then you like the first line of the first one and the second line of the second. Just do it right the first time, Jody.
Okay.
And she was right.
Okay.
So we were just rehearsed a lot more for our records. The benefit of not doing that is that there's a spontaneity and there's a fire. The benefit of doing it is that you save money.
Do you think it?
Get in there and
Can you hear the difference in the records? Do you think there really is?
I think they're better for having worked it out better.
In advance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So despite that loss of spontaneity, you think you come up with a better record?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything on the Carter Family album or the Utah Phillips album that was more than 2 takes.
Okay.
We took the first or the second. Maybe. We went on the old St. Sabbath, I think, at 4 takes, and Mother's Children had 3. But mostly, it's just like this one or that one. And occasionally, we'd use a second take for spare parts. With digital editing, you could do it really quick. Spare parts means like it sounded really good, but like I put my finger on the wrong fret for one note.
Yeah.
I did it okay on the other one. So.
Now, did you ever, through a 5-album career, 6 if you count the Kate and Katie record, did you ever have a conversation with Ken about selling these records?
Yeah.
That you can recall. What types of concerns did he have? What interests did he have?
In the beginning, he was very concerned that we'd be performing.
Okay.
And I said, well, yeah, we are. And I'd say, 89 through 93, maybe, we're doing about 100 shows a year. We're doing a lot. We slowed down considerably because it was too hard on Kate and too hard on the marriage. But, which means too hard on me,
Right.
too.
Sure.
It's just that I actually like touring.
Yeah.
I like going to new places. Can't say I like flying, but I don't mind it.
Right.
I just get a mystery novel
Yeah.
and disappear.
But Ken became
Ken-
okay with that transition. He said,
As we we told him we want to do it less, and he was great about it. He said, well, we'll figure out a way of selling the records with that. But I think when Appleseed approached it, I think Ken was relieved because I think he was having a hard time justifying us being on the label. We were not big sellers.
right.
I'm guessing. I mean, he never explicitly said that, but I don't think he would have ever fired us.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this dubious look here. I don't think he would have dropped us.
Randy Pitts has entered the room
Yeah.
to kibitz.
I did the math. They made money on all our records almost instantly.
Really?
They got the money back. Oh yeah, did all the math. It just doesn't cost that much to manufacture them.
You made your first record for them on your own. Did they finance the other records?
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
them?
They
Okay.
and they would give us a budget, and we would usually go over budget.
Okay.
And they didn't complain. And at one point, we went so severely over budget that I offered to pay some, which I thought it was in that particular instance. It was on the Stay a While album.
Right.
That it was really. It was my fault that we went over budget because of a couple of songs that I had hired other musicians on, and they screwed up so badly that I couldn't use them, and I had to do it again, and I don't know. I thought that was the better way to do it, and they very, very happily accepted that.
Now, all those costs were recoupable, though, against royalties, correct? All the production costs.
When Rounder paid for it?
Yeah, Rounder paid for it. Yeah, everything is. I'm just wondering how far that goes, and all those.
We have gotten royalties now on our first album.
Okay. And that took how many years?
But that one, they only paid us, what did they pay us for that one? I think $4,000. Or I think it cost us $5.5 to make, or something like that. In the beginning, I mean, that's typical.
And they paid you that up front? They paid you the $4,000 when you delivered the record? Or that's over time?
I believe they did.
Okay.
I believe they did, yeah.
Okay.
It was so long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I remember, whatever it was okay. I mean, like I said, I did the math, what it takes to run a record company.
Did you ever deal with anyone at Rounder other than Ken? Did you ever
I
deal
dealt with
Bill?
everybody.
I mean, Bill or Marion, or just the folks in
Dealing with
promotion you
Marion
dealt
was
with?
very, very peripheral. I dealt with Bill in the beginning. We had a huge argument. I wanted to oversee the mastering. The first one was still an LP.
Okay.
And I wanted to bring it to George Horn at Fantasy, who was an old-time mastering engineer and had really good ears.
To do the CD transfer?
No, just to oversee the manufacturing of the LP.
The vinyl, okay.
They make that first cutting, and Bill wanted to do it at their place, and everybody who had an LP made by Rounder, all these people, a lot of people said, don't let them do it, because they don't know what it's supposed to sound like, and it's gonna. There are all these people tearing out their hair. You have to oversee this. So I said, I want to do it. And he said, no, we want to do it. Yours will cost too much. Fantasy costs too much. I said, no, it doesn't. And there came this really angry letter from Bill. Don't try to second guess us. Who do you think you are? We've been in this, and it was very nasty. And we've been in business for a long, long time. We know our business. So I wrote back a letter in the form of a Chinese menu. Column A, column B. Your costs, my costs. What are you talking? My way is cheaper than your way. It was. And I could oversee. Here we get a record that the producer is there and the artists are there, and I can oversee the thing. We know what we get, and you're going to pay more. I then regretted sending the letter because I basically reflected his nastiness right back at him. And I thought, well, this is not a good way to best foot forward. Sometimes I think, Ken and Bill are good cop, bad cop there. But so I decided, well, I'm going to call up and apologize. And I couldn't get through to Bill's number. I couldn't get through. Finally, I gave up. The phone rang. It was Bill. He'd been trying to call me for an hour to apologize. So they can add. He took a look at my thing and looked at the dollars and cents. Mine was cheaper, and he said, "Sorry, you're right. I was wrong," which went a long way up to I said, "Okay, this guy is stubborn and arrogant, but he's not crazy. He can add." Never got into any altercations with Ken except once, and that was it was about money. What was it? It was some. I wanted, for a particular album, I wanted the money up front, and then I would pay the studio and the musicians and everything from there. I just thought for that particular project it would be easier. And he wanted to pay as we go, which is how we'd done it before. And it was not something I really cared that much about. He got very grumpy about it. And I said, okay, do it your way then. It's easier for me. I mean, it's easier for tax to not have to have this huge expense to show this money coming in, money going out, and all that. Other than that, it's been easy with Ken.
Did Ken ever involve himself? He's producer on a lot of Rounder records, and his role is not, I mean, people have variously described his role to me, but you've always produced your records, right?
Yeah.
And he's not been in the studio.
No, he's never been in the studio, and I don't think we could have stood it. Somebody watching the clock.
Yeah.
We, like I indicated before, we've become much more efficient at budgeting our time.
Now, you then went to Appleseed, and my outsider's perspective looking in is that Jim Musselman is that his name, right?
Yeah.
Is that he's kind of like Rounder circa 1972. He's starting his label anew. How do you see the difference?
I've yet to meet him. He's
really?
here.
Uh-huh.
All my dealings have been with his only employee, who's Josh Michael, who's a left-handed fretless banjo player, lives in Marin County.
Okay.
And he approached me. He was my banjo student. He wanted a ballad album.
Right.
Rounder. I've been asking Rounder to do that for 10 years. They
Really?
never wanted to do it.
What was their concern? Just couldn't sell it?
Couldn't sell it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how many. I mean, Appleseed does just. Their accounting. Forget that. I mean, Rounder is like efficient compared to him. But it did win an Indie Award. It won an AFM Indie Award. It got out there. It got fantastic
It
reviews.
got great press.
It got and
Full press.
and Koch International's good distribution. It got out there. It didn't do very well in England and Ireland and Australia, where I really wanted it to. I thought it would sell a lot. It's kind of the secret over there. I never really. My distribution there wasn't so great.